everyone, welcome to Gardening TLC. I am Michelle and woo, I made it outside. It's 42 degrees today and the sun is shining. So I thought I'd get out of the dining room and do one more design for you guys. We are gonna do another design along the edge of a driveway that separates two properties. The difference between this one and the one I did last Thursday, this one's in the sun and there's no trees creating shade. So it's getting hot, blazing sun all day long. So it's a different design with different plants. And I thought maybe you guys would enjoy this one as well. So let's go check out everything we put in the bed. Come along, let's go. We're gonna jump right into the video, but let me give you some specs about the bed first. So this is along the edge of a driveway and it faces east. So the sun comes up, travels over the top of the bed. So it's getting pretty much all day sun from sun up to sundown. So we need to put things in here, one, that are drought tolerant, two, that are salt tolerant because it's kind of close to the road. And I know that this guy puts salt on his driveway. And three, we want to be able to have it so that it doesn't all like wash onto the driveway. So as you can see, there are some little brick edgers along the edge of the driveway. We actually repaired those and then made a little bitty wall, one more brick higher, just to hold everything in. The other thing you'll notice is that one end of the bed or the two ends of the bed are skinnier than the center of the bed. So it's kind of like a triangle. So as you kind of come down the driveway, it comes to points at the end and it starts at 2 feet and then 3 feet, 4 feet, 5, 6, 7, until you get to the center of the bed. And the widest part of the bed is 8 feet. You will also notice that there is a utility box in here that we're going to try and hide, and we're going to use something clever to make that kind of disappear so we don't have to look at it. Now, there are some existing plants in this bed that we actually are keeping. One of them will be that tall stone crop right there in the center of the bed. We are actually going to keep that. We're going to dig it up, and we moved it. We are also keeping the lilac, which is over on the left. This one, we pruned it up, we fertilized it, and then it was just totally fine. And we will talk about which cultivar it was. As far as everything else that was in the bed, everything else came out and it was, pretty much tossed because a lot of it was really weed infested. It wasn't very healthy. And so we just kind of started with a blank slate, but he wanted those sedums and they didn't have weeds in them. So we kept them. All right. So there you go. There's a little bit of history about the bed and the specs and what we're doing. Now let's jump into the design. We're going to start with, the bones first, or the winter interest, and that would be the evergreens. So let's jump into that and take a look at what we used. I left the lilac with just green leaves on it because it's only going to be blooming for maybe 3 weeks, usually towards the end of May, beginning of June. And it's going to look more like this all the time than it'll look with flowers on it. And it is a dwarf Korean lilac, and we'll talk about the specs. We also added 3 evergreens, one of them being a weeping blue spruce, and that's the tall columnar plant that you see in the middle, kind of offset from the middle of the bed. And then all the way over on the right, we have a juniper, and we'll talk about the specs on that one. And then down in front of the lilac, we have a little mughal pine, and we'll talk about which cultivar that is as well. But these are my anchors in the bed, and this is kind of what it would look like in winter without the leaves on that shrub. It would just have the branches, but it would have the structure of that shrub. And then we'll talk about the specs of each of these evergreens that we put in the bed. I do like lilacs, and lilacs have a really good salt tolerance, so it's a really good shrub to put up next to the street or anywhere you're going to have salt. Now, this one is going to grow in zone 3 through 7, and it's a really good size as well, only getting 4 to 5 feet tall and 5 to 7 feet wide. Now, you can prune out the bottom branches and have it more open and all of your canopy on top, or you can grow those leaves and branches all the way to the ground and have it more of a round form. I really like this lilac because it's got a really nice blooming property to it. The flowers, I'd say, are kind of like a really light lilac purple, which is really nice, has a great fragrance to it. And deer and rabbit are supposed to not like lilacs, and they're supposed to leave them alone. Now, if you're going to prune your lilac, you're going to do that right after it's done flowering. Don't prune it in early spring, and do not prune it in the fall, because if you do, you're going to cut off all your flowers for the next year. Lilacs set their blooms usually right after they're done blooming for the next season's bloom. So if you're going to prune it, do it after it's done flowering. Usually you have about a 30, maybe yeah, I'd say you have a 30-day window to get that done. That's the lilac that was in the bed. We left it there. We just trimmed it up and fertilized it. I didn't put any specs on the screen because when you're planting a weeping spruce, whether it's a green one, it's a blue one, they really all have their own personality and they all look different. Thus, the three different pictures, so you can kind of see that. Most of them are going to grow anywhere from 12 to 15 feet tall. And if you want it to be more prostate, which means spread across the ground, you would actually tip that leader and like work it so that it's bent over sooner instead of having it grow straight up and down. So you can do either way. This one we bought as one that was going to go straight up and down. And as you can see, it's got that beautiful blue needle on it. And every one of these is different. So I love weeping trees. They give such character to a bed. These usually grow in zone 3 through 9. And so you've got a good growing range on these. They do want to be fertilized every single year, but they hold onto that blue color even in the winter. So I love this. This is our focal piece of the whole bed. And we started with a little one, and they aren't fast growers. So it takes a little bit of time to get some growth and some height to it. But oh, are they interesting? All the way over on the right, we put a juniper in, and I really like this Tortuga from Proven Winners. It is like the perfect size. It doesn't get too big. It's not too small. It's not a ground creeper. It gets a little bit of height to it, anywhere from 12 to 24 inches high. Most of them in full sun are going to get 24 inches high. It has a nice shape to it. It does grow kind of in a rounded habit, but you'll have like those different layered effects that you get with a juniper. But this guy's only 4 feet wide, and I love the size of this. I also like the nice bright green that it gets when it has the new growth on it in the spring, and then it settles down and it darkens a little bit. But it is really a nice hardy juniper, and it will do really well along the edge of the driveway in that compacted soil. I mean, they are just great for a lot of reasons. They are also really good if you're looking for erosion control. Junipers are really good for that. And the other thing I really like about junipers is one, they are salt tolerant. And if you want to plant underneath a black walnut tree, this could be a candidate for that problem that you might have. I really like slow mound mugo pines. It's one of my favorite little shrubs to tuck into a full sun bed because one, they're really super slow growing. Two, they have a nice mounded shape. They got really little short needles on them. They look good all the time. They're not really bothered by a lot of pests, and they're rabbit resistant. And they grow in this neat little mound, and they get the little new candles that come up on them in the spring. They only get 12 to 24 inches high and maybe 36 inches wide in like 10 years. Now, after 10 years, they'll continue to grow, but they are a super slow grower. And I just love these for the front of the border when I'm looking for a little green to give me some anchor in the winter. Love these. Now, one of the things that you can definitely do in a bed like this is plant some bulbs in the fall to come up in the spring to give you a little cheer as you're pulling up into the driveway. You could definitely do crocus because they're not planted very deep, so you could interplant them among other perennials that are there so that as they're dying back, the foliage gets hidden. You could also do daffodils, which will naturalize in the bed. You don't have to worry about squirrels digging them up. And they're absolutely one of the cheeriest flowers and one of the earliest flowers that you're going to have blooming in your garden. So I would add either one of these to the garden so that I have that beautiful spring color. Now, the one thing to remember when you're doing any kind of bulb that you're going to plant in the fall, you're going to have to let that foliage die back naturally so that you re-energize the bulb so it'll bloom the next year. So I always want to make sure I'm looking for different things that I can plant around my bulbs to hide that foliage as it's dying back. And I'll show you what I decided to plant with the daffodils because that's the one that's really going to show. The crocus, not so much. They're pretty little. They kind of melt into the background when they're all done. But I definitely don't want to look at the daffodil foliage as it's dying back. So when the daffodils are done, you're going to cut out the flowers, you're going to fertilize them, and then this other plant is going to emerge up in its place. And I'll talk about that one in just a second. I definitely do not want to look at that utility box that's in the bed, so I am going to hide it and I'm going to use a grass. I have chosen a Calamagratis called Carl Forster. This is a grass that you probably see everywhere. You see it in parking lots, you see it at restaurants, but I'm telling you, it's a pretty tried and true grass. and it's a cool season grass. And that's definitely what I'm looking for when I want to hide a utility box. I need that grass to grow as fast as possible. So I want it to come up in the spring. And that's what it means when it's a cool season grass. It means it grows and it grows and it grows while it's cool out. Typically, your Carl Foresters will get their plumes on them by the end of June. And they're kind of a creamy color, and then they age to like a weedy color as we progress further into the summer. They have a tendency to go dormant once they settle into the heat of summer, but they're high enough already by June that they cover that utility box, and that's what I'm going for. Now, as we head into fall, they might grow a little bit, but they really are just a great looking grass in the garden. They do look good planted in groups and in mass, and they just add some nice movement there, and they serve the purpose of covering that box. These guys grow 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide, so it's not a very big grass. The centers don't die out, and they don't need to be fertilized. I actually recommend against fertilizing grasses because when you fertilize a grass, it pushes a lot of growth really fast and then it makes the grass weak. And that's not something that you want to have happen. So don't fertilize your grasses. The other thing is if you're going to grow a cool season grass, make sure you get out there and get that cut at the beginning of April, end of March. That way you don't have old grass and new grass growing together. That does not look good. All right, Carl Forester, totally excellent grass. I got quite the chirping little bird here over my shoulder. All right, so perennials are going to be added to the bed, but they come and go and bloom. I really wanted a shrub that had a long bloom time on it, and I chose a hydrangea. I love this hydrangea. I have them in my garden, and I actually think I'm going to add some more of this cultivar. Love this one. This is a Little Lime Punch from Proven Winners, and it is their 2025 Hydrangea of the Year. Now, I have these growing in my driveway bed, and I love them. This is a full sun paniculata hydrangea. Now, the further south you go, the more you might have to protect it from the sun. But here in zone 5 where we live, it can handle all day sun. It is also drought tolerant once you get it established. Now, these are not deer resistant. Deer do like hydrangeas, so you might have to put deer repellent on it to keep them away if you have deer pressure. Now, this guy has a really good cold hardiness all the way down to zone 3, growing into zone 9. But my favorite part about a fruit punch is really the way it colors up. So you start with this lime green flower that ages to white, then it ages to mauve. All right. So now it starts to darken and it darkens to this beautiful, like fruit punch red. But because this is a repeat bloomer and you keep getting flowers once it starts blooming all through the season, you will actually have white, mauve, pink, and green all at the same time on this shrub because it is a rebloomer. So it looks absolutely stunning in the garden. And I think that this is a perfect addition to this garden. All right, we're going to add 4 perennials to the bed. All the way over on the right are the sedums that we dug up and we moved over. Next to that, we have some salvia, then some daylilies, and all the way over on the left are some, what are those? Oh my gosh, alliums. Oh my goodness. I couldn't think of what they were. Okay. So let's talk about the cultivars that I chose. Yeah. I can't believe I had a brain freeze considering alliums are one of my favorite flowers. And we're going to start all the way over on the left and work our way to the right. So there's a lot of different alliums that you can choose from. This one is called Millennium. I think pretty much everybody could find this one. Grows in zone 4 through 8, gets about 20 inches high, 15 inches wide. It is an ornamental onion, and deer and rabbit don't like it. Typically, this one is blooming towards the end of July into August. It gets these really pretty purple billy balls all over it. But I like this plant because the foliage looks good on it all the time, even when it doesn't have flowers. It's one of the first green foliages that you'll see out in your garden in the spring. In fact, mine already are up, and I just love this plant. It is a very good pollinator attractor. Butterflies, bees, all love this plant. So I just love alliums. I use them all the time, and I have lots of them in my garden. And if you've never grown them, I would recommend them. This is probably the most overused flower I've ever seen in my entire life. But in this situation, in this garden bed, it was the perfect flower to put in. This is a Stella d'Oro daylily, and they grow in zone 2 through 9, and they will pretty much grow anywhere. And this guy, he needed some stuff that was pretty low maintenance. And if you think about the maintenance on this bed, everything in it is pretty low maintenance. These guys grow 12 by 12. They're deer and rabbit resistant. They rebloom. And because it's on the edge of the bed, if it starts to look ratty, you can cut those things all the way back to the ground and they will reflush with new foliage and look good the rest of the season. Now, you might sacrifice your rebloom on it, but yeah, I'm okay with that if my foliage looks good for the whole season. These guys are pretty much foolproof, and I think you'd have to really seriously have a black thumb if you can't get these to grow in your garden. I chose a salvia from Proven Winner in the Profusion series because they really do have this seriously long bloom time and they just keep blooming and blooming and blooming. Unlike some salvias that you have to cut back to the base foliage or all the way to the ground to get them to push up new flowers, this one kind of just keeps going. It's also a smaller size, only 16 inches high, 18 inches wide, deer and rabbit resistant. But look at those beautiful calyxes on there. Now, the calyx is the part of the flower, the stem that comes up, and then all the little flowers come down that stem. Well, that calyx is a really dark, like pinky purple too. So even when the flowers are done, it still looks good. So I really like the salvia from the Profusion series, and I have them in my garden and I love them. The last perennial in the bed, all the way over to the right, is the sedum that was already there, and it was Autumn Joy. Autumn Joy is a really classy sedum. It's got a really pretty dusty pink on it. And when your foliage is growing, it looks like little cabbages are growing in the garden. Now, I have people tell me that they struggle with it flopping open. And I can tell you, usually that happens if one, you fertilize it. It doesn't want to be fertilized. Two, you're watering it. It is super drought tolerant, storing water in its leaves because it is from the succulent family. Or three, it's not in full sun. It needs all of those conditions to grow up and be big and beautiful. And if it's flopping over, check those three things first before you automatically think, I need to split it. That might be what you need to do. But more times than not, it's one of those three things that I just listed. That's usually the reason why they're flopping open. They grow 20 inches high, 15 inches wide, and this is a fall bloomer. So Autumn Joy normally will flower up, and then you'll start to see the flowers open up and turn that dusty pink. That's usually happening here where I live right around the beginning of September. You can leave these up for winter interest or not. This is on the edge of a driveway, and I know that he uses a snowblower and it all goes on this bed. So all of the things that I put in this bed can handle the snowpack on them when he's doing that, and all of them can handle a little bit of that salt as well. But we did elevate the bed up behind that wall so that all the mulch doesn't wash into the driveway. All right, that's the last perennial in the bed. I think it turned out pretty good. Let's take a look at it one more time. All right, so there's our before. Yeah, that's what we were looking at. Now let's take a look at the after again. Isn't that better? Oh my gosh, I would so much rather look at that than look at what was there. And whenever you're doing a bed like this, even if you're not doing it so it's layering down on the other side, what your neighbor gets to look at is still better than what they were looking at before. So I love this bed. I think it turned out great. So you guys wanted one in full sun, well, there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you got a little nugget of something that will help you maybe create something in your own garden. So now you have two driveway beds, one in the shade, one in the sun, and hopefully you'll find something that works for you. Don't forget, Garden Gab is coming up. That's where we answer questions from the previous videos that we've had. And we ask for you as the viewers to send beautiful pictures of your garden that we can share and inspire everybody else with. We accept pictures in a landscape format, one picture of something beautiful in your garden right now in the month of April. We will share those while we're answering questions. Tell me who you are, where you live, what zone it is, and what we're looking at. We love to be inspired by these pictures. All right, so that's all I've got for today, you guys. Oh, it's starting to warm up. So yeah, I can't wait to get out into the yard and start doing some projects. But for now, we'll work on a couple more designs and then we'll move forward from there. I'm Michelle. We will catch you guys later. Have a great day. And if you're south, man, I hope you get in your garden today. Bye.